Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Ruth Codd about The Midnight Club, streaming now worldwide on Netflix. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. Delighted to be here.
I mean, it's pretty crazy on your end. I mean, you and the cast went to New York for New York Comic Con. I mean, this was a show. Anytime Mike Flanagan puts out something new, everyone's ready to go. Everyone's waiting and waiting. Has it hit you that people are finally able to see the show?
To be honest, no. It's so weird because we filmed it so long ago, and it was a year of our lives. And we just had such a good time filming the show, and then it just kind of all ended, and we went our separate ways. So for the past year, I've just kind of been in limbo, and I've been like, "Oh, that's it." And then I know the past week it's come out. We all got flown to New York for Comic Con, and it's kind of kicked off.
And it's just like, don't you wish there would be like kind of the consistency of like, maybe it's like semi nuts, but consistently throughout the weeks? It probably goes from like being quiet and then all of a sudden 0 to 100.
But that's what I think that was so great about it, though, is just like now all of a sudden we're all excited about it again, and we can, like, when we see bits of the show and at Comic Con, we're like, do you remember that day when like Chris or Sorian did this or Aya did this? And we're like watching parts of the show and we're like, oh yeah, remember that?
I mean, I do have a lot of questions about your character, Anya. I mean, before that, I mean, for people that have gone online, they could see there's a lot of articles about like how you got into acting and you were on TikTok, you were discovered. Anything else specifically about that kind of journey you could share specifically before we go into the characters? Like, did you always want to act? Was TikTok kind of an opportunity to kind of get yourself out there maybe for this to happen? Like, I'm just curious about that.
I'm never sure if I should be honest when I answer this question. Acting never crossed my mind. It was never something that I ever even thought. When the pandemic hit, I was an apprentice barber, so I wasn't being paid anyway, but I had to move home. I ran out of money, had to move home, and the Wi-Fi doesn't really work in my parents' house. So I'm here right now. I'm hoping that there's a little modem beside me, and I'm like, stay alive. But I was just so bored and there was nothing else to do, so I just started uploading TikToks, and I was like, I'll delete them if people from my hometown start seeing them. I was like, that TikTok is going. And then I woke up one morning and it had kind of out of nowhere blown up. And
that's the
like,
scary thing about TikTok, is like a horror movie in itself, because that could happen. Yeah. You could post something that's just like, oh, like it was a goof, you know what I mean? And then, oh no, 1 million views.
Yeah. And then I was like, well, I guess everyone knows now, so I might as well fucking keep it up. And like companies were sending me like free shit and stuff, so I was like, bring on.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and then casting reached out to me from TikTok, and like, have you ever considered acting? And I was like, no, but I'll give it a go, expecting to never.
Do you ever think about the fact that you kind of open up the floodgates of now everyone's gonna like, no, like I always think about that. Like, people are gonna make TikToks and be like, you know, I'm just waiting for my call to be an actor.
I know. I mean, it's so it just goes to show, though, that you can have I suppose a skill that you don't even know about, and someone can just see the potential in you. And it's just, I think, like, just be yourself, you know, don't try to be anything, just be yourself and people will pick up on it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, no, it's just a crazy world. I think social media is just crazy.
So I've kind of left it since I started acting. But it was mad. Like all that realm of stuff is just, I've the ultimate admiration for anyone that does it, can manage.
Yeah. I think it makes sense though too. I mean, you're focusing on your craft and everything, and you did such an amazing job with Anya. And like first thing that kind of comes to mind immediately when we meet this character, there's this like villain kind of label that she's mean to everyone in the Midnight Club and everything. Then you kind of keep watching the interview, like the episodes, and it's like, misunderstood. She's still a little loyal to her friends. So this is a blurry character. Do you notice that this character is blurry when you're reading the script for this?
Yeah, I mean, before I started working, I only got the first 2 episodes.
Okay.
And when I read the audition, I was like, oh, she's cool. I was like, she is mean. She takes her kind of disappointment of the world out on others, which is not okay. And she's honest to the point where it like invalidates other people's feelings, which again, not okay. But I related Teenage Ruth and episode 1 and 2 Anya are 2 very similar people, I would say. I understood where her anger was coming from. And so I think that's what's great about her, because a lot of the time disabled characters don't get that kind of arc, that progression. They're just one layer, like you kind of feel like they're just shoved in the shows because
not this one.
Oh, we tick that box, like, but with Anya it's different. You don't even notice the chair, I think, most of the time, because it's just her personality is just so.
Well, she's kind of the one that kind of, you think about it, she's the one that kind of leads. When you first see everyone meeting and telling the first story, she really is like the leader of all of that, right? With the dialogue, with the body language. If you think about it, right? She really kind of like holds everything together. It sets it all up if you think about it.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious. There's a moment in 2, I think, where Alon asks, she's like, so am I part of the club? And everyone just turns to Anya, like, like, is she?
And you're like the roommate.
Anya's so mean. She's so mean to poor Lanka.
Well, again, I want people. It's tough when I do these interviews, Ruth, because I don't want to go into big spoilers. But all I'm gonna say is episode 7 is a massive episode for your character, and I just want to know when you got the script, because I don't know when you get the scripts, because you get them maybe sometimes in advance or anything. I mean, I feel like that, like just seeing what's going on with Anya in that episode, I feel like is just like it had to be emotional, just kind of seeing what was to come, right, for that episode.
It's the only time I've ever read a script and I've cried.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's. Yeah.
And I was the one playing her. I was like, it's not real, Ruth. Like, come on. But it's just. I mean, Jamie Flanagan wrote that episode, and I've worked with him since, and just his writing is, I've never had something affect me in that way. It's just, his writing is just beautiful. Like, all the stuff he does is phenomenal. And like I had an easy job that episode because the writing was so good. Axel Carlin directed it. Because I was like reading the script and I was like, how in God's name are they going to do this? Like, how is this going to translate from the script to the screen? And then I saw the episode and I was like, oh, holy shit. And I was like, wow. It was and it was such, even though it's a sad episode, it was such a brilliant time to film. Yeah,
you did such a good job right now in this interview without saying any context about like what's going on, which is what I wanted. But like, people are like, oh man, like now I need to kind of catch up, because you're gonna see when by the time this interview is out, you're gonna have people that have probably binged it all. You're gonna have some people that have been doing episodes here and there, because it is, like, I will say, in my opinion, it's one of Mike Flanagan's scariest projects, like in terms of the scares. Oh yeah. I think so. I don't know if you guys talked about that at all, but it's got like the Mike, he blends. I think why it's funny because I talk about this all the time because a lot of my colleagues and myself are huge fans of his work, and I think it's just the perfect blend of traditional horror tropes like jump scares and gore and monsters and everything with this kind of new age of horror that you saw with Midnight Mass, where it's like this psychological and like people are scary and people can do weird, crazy things, and this one I think is a perfect combination of both, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird for me because I know, like, I've read in such detail, so I know where every little singular thing is. And I was like to my friends, no, it's not scary, it's fine. But they said the same thing as you. They were like, Ruth!
It's scary. It's very scary, and Ruth. It's spooky season. Like it's perfect.
My favorite season.
It's spooky season. Is there pressure a little bit, knowing that the landscape for horror projects is so big right now, or does the excitement that you get to work on it just kind of overtake the pressure? Because it's the biggest genre out there. One could make an argument right now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Mike kind of almost has his own genre horror.
Yeah.
It is different to, you just automatically know it's his work because he makes you, like, I love horror. I've watched horror since I was way too young. And the thing I love about horror is when everyone gets killed and I'm like, yeah, die. But he like makes you care about the characters, and that's kind of something new, I think, in horror, where he develops the characters to a point where you don't want them to get killed. You don't want them to die kind of gruesome, horrific way. And then when it happens, you're like...
It's so funny you mentioned that, though, about... Like, I don't think that's ever going to go away, especially when it's a slasher movie. Those moments where you see one of the characters alone and you're like, all right, it's time for the kill, right? Like, I feel like that will never leave.
I love, like, slasher, like, Saw favorite franchise. Because, like, you just know no one's coming out alive. And you watch it anyway. Like, I love that.
It's also fun to... Like, because the catalog and body of work of horror these days is massive. Like, there's some movies that you can go year to year. Like, I actually do a horror movie every night, basically, in October. Which is, I do, like, and sometimes I get a bit crazy and I watch 2 in one night.
Yeah.
So maybe I've done double headers the whole month, so maybe it's been 60.
Do you snacks when you do that? Like, you have to have
I have snacks. Absolutely. But I have snacks for sure. But like, I can't also, like, I don't know, it depends on people. I can't watch horror movies super late, not because it's like dark, but it's because I'm like, I work a lot during the days and everything, and I'm tired, right? I really want to enjoy it. I feel like when you're tired, like with the Midnight Club, if you watch it like when you're a little like tired, I don't think it's gonna be the same. You know what I mean?
It'll wake you up. There's a couple of jumps. You're like, I read the scripts, and like when I was watching, I was like, oh my gosh.
It will wake you up. I did want to ask, I mean, Ruth Codd is a storyteller, an actor. You're also an advocate. How important is it for you to use your platforms and your stories to share kind of your awareness and advocacy for a lot of important issues like amputees specifically? I just wanted to talk about that specifically.
Like I never kind of set out to be an advocate, if you know what I mean. I always just kind of, I suppose, shared my stories and my experience in a funny way, and people related to it. And again with Mike, Anya's written so well. He's kind of done the job for. I just get all the credit, but I'm like, I actually just, I probably did the least work out of everyone. It's important, but I think there's a power to just doing and going about your day. I'm shit with my words. Which, considering my current line of work with interviews and all, is probably not. But There's a power in just doing, and just I don't have to sit here and kind of preach about, you know, how I'm able to do everything else that everyone else is able to do, and I deserve the same level of respect. I'll just go out and do it, and people can take from that, you know, kind of what they will.
No, absolutely. No, that is very well said. I think there is. No, absolutely. That is very well said. I think it's important as well for people to kind of like find out all this stuff by seeing, you know, a lot of interviews we've done, a lot of things you might post and everything, which I think is amazing. And I do want to say the landscape now, there's so much like content on like out there right now. Like it's crazy. You probably saw it when you're making TikToks and everything. I mean, you want the inspiring content. Like I actually go out and I want to follow people that are gonna like that I are like, this person is living their life, like you said, and is an advocate. Like I look for that. You know what I mean? Because there's so much stuff out there right now.
Yeah, I think there's a saturation of content that's not, what would you say, sincere. It's people trying, I think, you know, to get a few 100,000 followers, and that's their objective. And very transparent. You can tell. And then I think it's, the people that are just kind of pissing about and being themselves are kind of now are the, you know, that aren't polished and that aren't being like, oh, look at my, you know, perfect little YouTube blog, you know.
But to add to that a little bit, part of our job at Popternative too, as like a media outlet, is we need to be aware of like everything and like look at trends and look at everything. That's like what we do. You know what I mean? And like people are catching on to what you're saying though. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like slowly but surely they are. They could see the difference and the authenticity. Like I see it for sure.
I'm glad there's more. I think TikTok really opens doors to the more chaotic you are, the better and the less polished you are, which was kind of new to social media, because right before that it was like you had to be polished and you had to kind of have this, you know, influencer type of aesthetic. And I think during lockdown, everyone was just like, we're all having a shit time here. We don't need to see you in Bora Bora. Like, we don't want to see that.
I agree with that. There's also a lot of like self-reflection. People were figuring things out. Like, you know how many like podcasts were created during the how many like podcasts were created during the lockdown? Popternative, we've been around since 2015, so we definitely like blossomed and exploded during the pandemic because people were around and saw our interviews. But like we were like a pre-pandemic thing. But like the amount of things that were made during the pandemic, it was crazy. You mentioned chaotic. You know what else is chaotic? The Midnight Club, which they can stream now on Netflix, which is amazing. Ruth, thank you so much for coming on Popternative. It was so great chatting with you.
Oh, it was brilliant. Thanks for having me.
Instagram these days is like the main kind of platform that you are kind of posting here and there on, right? It's just Instagram.
Yeah, it's just Instagram. Yeah, that's it.
It's just your name, right? I think it's like Ruth Codd. Yeah, awesome. Absolutely. Well, this has been Popternative. YouTube.com/Popternative. Previous episodes, you can catch Ruth as Anya in the Midnight Club, streaming now worldwide on Netflix. Until next time, this is Ruth and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.